I've already done so many lists out there that discuss my favorite comedies of all time. Did I do so many? Regardless, today I'm going to be doing another list of my favorite comedies of all time, just from a certain decade, the 1980s. I really think everything from the 1980s deserves a mention, especially with the movie industry. Essentially, that's just what I always talk about. But yes, we're going to be talking about some of my favorite comedies from the 80s. If you don't remember, the way this will work out, it's ranked by which movies I seem to find the funniest. Like which movies give me the most good amount of humor that I can laugh through. So we're not going to be basing it off of any of my personal opinions on of overall how I overall feel about it. So this isn't really my favorite movies of all time that happen to be a comedy. These are just my favorite comedies of the 80s that I find the most hilarious. And good thing enough, most of them on this list are ones I haven't really talked about yet. So that should be good for those people. I can introduce you all to my new opinion on some of the newest comedy films I haven't discussed yet. So today, we're checking out my top 10 favorite comedy films of the 80s. Let's look. UHF. For those who haven't heard of this movie, here's what I'll say. UHF is the comedy film from 1989 that stars the famous singer Weird Al Yankovic. He, from the 80s and 90s, and sometimes now, not really a lot, he was a singer. He sang mostly comedy songs. His biggest idea was to mostly do parodies of some famous songs, like sing his own version of the song as a funny parody. Like, for example, the Michael Jackson hit Beat It, he made a version called Eat It, which is the same song just with different lyrics to make for comedy moments. He mostly parodies other songs, but at the same time can sometimes do his own funny work. He also works as a voice actor nowadays. You can maybe hear his voice in some cartoon and whatever. He actually did just recently appear in a Lego Star Wars thing. Don't know why, but we're going to be looking at one of his older works, UHF, a comedy film that tributes most comedy films. For those, Weird Al Yankovic is a huge fan of parody movies and decided to pay homage to them in his own little one. With this movie referencing as many good movies as Weird Al can think of. It features stuff like Raiders of the Lost Ark, Rambo, and all that in between. But the main focus is just on cable television, with some of it being often regarded as a sketch comedy, with it mostly being consisted of sketches you see on TV, just done by Al himself. Weird Al Yankovic has some pretty funny songs, so if you ever think about checking some of those out, there are some good parodies, you know. He can take a famous song and parody it, or he can just be a famous voice actor. Either way, this was his peak for a funny movie. Probably one of the only films he stars in. And it certainly is a funny one. Caddyshack. I'm probably not the biggest into golf. Golfing is a sport I had tried before, even if it's not really something I'm all about. However, that's not me saying I hate everything related to golf. Hold on. When can I ever stop sneezing? Caddyshack is a comedy film talking about the dangers and madness that can come from a golf game. It may seem like a typical movie, just talking about, some fun little stuff for golf, but everything it gives you is better than ever. It features funny stuff like the four main comedy legends: Chevy Chase, Rodney Dangerfield, Bill Murray, and Ted Knight, I guess. That's his name? Yeah, it should be his name. But yeah, these four aren't the main characters, but they are the comedy legends towards the film. Each of them have a funny thing going for them. Like, Bill Murray's character is obviously the best. His main goal is to kill a gopher that's evading the fields. So the entire movie he tries to think of plans to catch the gopher that is running around through the golf field. And it is all of that hilarious. But there are plenty of other great little moments too. Funny moments that have to do with either the funny randomness of golf or the funny randomness of a country club. All that is just there introduced in this movie. So even if its comedy is a little overhyped by some people, I think Caddyshack is a great comedy film to watch if you really love seeing them sports movies get lampooned. That's just where Caddyshack does its job. Police Academy. Now, this is one of the more recent comedies I watched. If you know, I'm 17 now, so I can watch as many R-rated films as I want to. And thus, I watched Police Academy, a film that tells the story about a bunch of weirdos or messy dummies who want to become police officers. The entire movie just centers around them training to be officers and most of them having dumb abilities, making them be more ridiculous. Like, each of the characters come with a weird character trait that makes the job much harder. Like, for example, there's a character who has the ability to make crazy sound effects, all sounding realistic stuff. Like, he can make gun sound noises and people would believe it's an actual gun. Or there's a guy who's too heavy for its own good. He can literally lift an entire car. There's some people with autism, some people with small voices. There's a lot of different random people in this movie. It's pretty much just a spoof on how many people can become police officers at the time. For that reason, Police Academy is a hilarious movie. It's a little underrated, actually. There aren't many people I know, even back then, who talk about this film. But I personally think it's funny just because of the people they got for it. And the thing is, I don't recognize any of the actors in this movie. This is one of the few good movies where barely any of the actors in it I recognize. So, like, no funny guy I know from anywhere else is in this film. But that's just what makes it all the more fun. There's new people, like not very recognizable people, that I'm able to still get a laugh about. I don't know if I'm going to ever see these people in any other good movie again, but for now, it's great seeing them getting away from the old cliche of these funny guys getting casted in obvious reasons. Planes, Trains, and Automobiles. So, can you think of any good movie out there to watch during Thanksgiving? Thanksgiving is a good holiday. However, not many movies celebrate it. So you barely can find a movie that this talks about Thanksgiving or is about Thanksgiving. But if you are looking for one that is a Thanksgiving movie, you can look at Planes, Trains, and Automobiles. A movie many are able to enjoy as a Thanksgiving tradition, while others can just enjoy as a everyday tradition. Me, I think both. Because this movie's all out there. It's Steve Martin and John Candy. Martin is a businessman trying to get home to his family. John Candy plays a goofy dork who helps him, but is very annoying and very weird. Yet Martin has to deal with him throughout the entire movie. The funny bit, you can tell. It's literally a normal guy trying to get to his family, having to go through so many random routes to get home, like when he has to go on a plane or train, a car, easy because that's the title. And most of it he has to do with this John Candy character, who is by far John Candy's best performance of all time. The poor man really deserved a better life because the roles he did get are some of the funniest ever, and this is by far his funniest role. This movie really could have made the top 5, but unfortunately I just think there are funnier ones. Either way, I definitely give this a recommending. It's a good Thanksgiving movie to watch. Even if many people don't think there should be any Thanksgiving movies, there definitely is this one. It may not make you cry as much as others, but it definitely will make you laugh. Wait, it actually does have emotion too. It'll make you laugh and cry, but mostly laugh. Trading Places. Now here are some two other funny stars, Eddie Murphy and Dan Aykroyd. The movie is the idea of two guys trading places. How does that go out? Well, here's the catch. One is a rich man who has a huge life, a girlfriend, and a big business. One is a homeless man who doesn't have any life at all, but just really is desperate to get it. Then they get in a situation where they both seem to live the opposite life, where the rich guy becomes a homo and the hobo becomes a rich guy. And that's how Dan Aykroyd and Eddie Murphy play their part. They both play the same type of person each time. They're both two different people when the movie opens, and for the rest of the film they play the opposite of each other. And it all ends with them joining forces with still funny stuff to it. Yeah, it's funny because Eddie Murphy and Dan Aykroyd are peaking at their funniest in this film. These two are some of the funniest actors of the 80s, and the best way to prove it is with this movie. All of their great humor is expressed here. Eddie Murphy's hilarious screaming and over talking. Dan Aykroyd's hilarious intelligence that he just uses at other time, or into his own good. It's all there, and I just think that this movie has a lot to go for. Others I like to think of is it's a Christmas movie. It takes place sometime around Christmas. That works well, but it actually wasn't released during Christmas, so it's another one of those films you can debate whether to watch during Christmas or just during any other time. But again, any time is fair because this movie's all out there. It's so much fun. Even if you don't really have much to know about these two, the best way to get to know how funny these two are is with a movie like Trading Places. Coming to America. Oh, here's another funny Eddie Murphy film. Coming to America is Eddie Murphy at, in my opinion, his all-time funniest. What's it about? A king who wants a wife. So he goes to New York City to find a girl he can go with. And essentially, it's a fish out of water story. Because this very rich, very pride king is in America, New York City. And literally has so... The funniest bit about this movie is how this guy is so happy of where he's at. Even when he's in the most craziest situations. Like, he's in New York. You know how messy New York can get. But even then, he's just happy that he's outside of his hometown. He smiles during the majority of the fun stuff. And even after the movie does focus more on the romance, which I will admit was kind of a problem for me, it still didn't stop its funniness. Because Eddie Murphy was still funny in any moment he can be. Any moment he's able to just have that calm voice where he just loves being in New York City, while most of us seem to have trouble with New York City. Or even the people around him. Like his partner, I forgot his name, but he's played by Arsenio Hall, not a very popular guy. He has to go with him, and he's the only one who actually sees New York for what it is, and just frowning through it all. Murphy's all like, "Hey, cheer it up, this place is amazing." Please don't hate me for that accent, I tried, and I'm so sorry. But yes, so much fun can come out of this movie. Some people may know that there's a sequel called Coming to America, with 2 replaced with number 2. However, I really recommend not watching that one. It is not as good. It really does not live up to any hype. This is the true comedy film. That one is just... It adds some more actors who are not funny at all. Just watch this one. This one has the right choice of actors, and it's just the right amount of humor. Okay? If you like fish out of water stories like I do, you definitely gotta check out this one. National Lampoon's Christmas Vacation. Out of all of the National Lampoon movies I've seen, the one I think is the funniest is Christmas Vacation. This one is a Christmas movie. It tells the Christmas story of the Griswold family and their crazy shenanigans trying to spend Christmas at home. I don't know how many times you've heard me talk about this before, but it's still one of my favorites. One of my favorite Christmas movies ever. Christmas Vacation is often considered the funniest of all Christmas movies. I can see why. Even though I personally wouldn't consider it my all-time favorite Christmas comedy, for the National Lampoon movies I've seen, this one definitely does still take the cake. It's so much enjoyment towards it. I mean, I really don't know much else to say. You've heard me talk about this movie. It's a Christmas family. It's a messed up family. All that can just be shown through this movie. I really don't have much else to say about it. It's just that funny. Top Secret. I talk about Top Secret once in a while. I'll just say it one more time. This movie was made by the people who gave us Airplane. And it stars Val Kilmer in his feature film debut before he got the throat issues. Why am I bringing those up? What is wrong with me? But yes, Val Kilmer in his first movie. The film spoofs World War II veteran stuff, as well as being a much-needed spy film with just some of the hilarious visual gags you can get. I read the poster. The poster shows a cow. However, the whole cow joke was only in the movie once, and it's not really that big of a part of the movie. So that's the funny bit, focusing on the minorest of details on the movie poster. Even though this moment isn't big as major in the film, it's still there, and it's still a funny moment. And I have to mention one of the funny moments. But they could have added an image from another funny moment and still work for the poster. But obviously I had to go with the cow because, I don't know, guess something about cows is funny. Whatever reason, this movie is a lot of fun. because you do not need to be taking it seriously. If anyone out there wants to take this comedy seriously, you shouldn't. That's what I love about most 80s comedies. You know, you can't always take it seriously. Movies like this, you do not need to be serious towards it. Don't watch the movie and expect to actually follow along the story, focus on the characters and all that. You have to laugh at it, okay? You can't waste your time just trying to get interested in the story drama. It's not about drama, it's about humor. Focus on what you can actually laugh at, not what you can always know about. Because sometimes a movie just needs to just be funny, nothing else. That's where Top Secret comes in. And same with The Naked Gun. This is another movie that was made to just be about comedy. This movie is another spy. It's a detective movie based on a television series called Police Squad, which is equally as hilarious. The Naked Gun features the funniest man alive, Leslie Nielsen, playing a detective who is an idiot but also a good detective at the same time. It's fun combining a detective who is both an idiot and a smart one. Just those two being combined in this role is so much fun. Even with the serious stuff you can see from this movie, you still have to know when you're going to laugh at it, because you do deserve to laugh at everything that it shows at you. And Naked Gun just proves so much, because your humor should really work with this. If you think the 80s do not make good comedy movies, I just have to show you this. Because this movie is a detective comedy that's inappropriate in most ways, but at the same time still loads of fun. And if you do remember, I have said once that when I first saw this movie, I ain't really got to it. But now that I'm seeing more of these 80s comedies, I realize this is some of the funniest you can get. So you want to watch a good comedy movie? You gotta check out stuff like The Naked Gun. Actually, the top three are the three movies you have to check out from the 80s. So it's Top Secret, The Naked Gun, and of course, Airplane. All three of these comedy movies you have to watch if you really want to watch a funny movie. Because even if you are living in a society that doesn't have this kind of humor, the society before had humor that was just something else. And that's where you need to go through. So I'm not saying everybody has to be a comedy fan, but if you do like some funniness like I do, then there's stuff like Airplane. Airplane is by far the funniest comedy of the 80s and one of the funniest movies of all time. So if you're into comedy, you have to watch something like Airplane. Every movie on this list is a funny one. And while I'm not going to say all of them you have to watch, the top three are the ones that I recommend to you. There are plenty of other great comedies out there, but these three are the ones you should watch so you can know how funny movies could have been back then. And then, there are also the Monty Python movies. I did mention there was a Monty Python movie that came out in the 80s I should have put on this list, but I forgot to. So yeah, the Monty Python movies you should watch too. But then there's also Airplane, Naked Gun, Top Secret, Coming to America, Christmas Vacation, all that in between. Comedy has always had great meaning, because even if it's back then it wasn't the same as it is now, it was something. So the hell with TikTok, the hell with, trying to act cool for your teen years. In my senior year, I'm still loving on all these movies, every way I can. I really am going to still watch these films. And you know what? Crazy enough, right when I'm done with this video, I'm watching them again. I'm going to watch them again. Maybe just at least the clips from the movie, but I have to. Yeah, I just can't help it. These movies are so much fun. They're funny because they have humor that you can't take seriously. Humor that is risky, but still works. Humor that really can offend somebody, but it's still made, still there, and that's just what gives me the joy. All the joy I can get from these movies. I have to watch them again. I just have to. You have to. Please. I'm recommending them.